2/3 of the earth comprises of water. Water which we call as rivers, lakes, and of course, sea and oceans. Oceans and seas are vast and wide. Oceans and seas are our friends. It is one of our sources of food and living. It is one of our means of transportation. It is also a place for our leisure, pastime, hobbies, and sports, such as sightseeing, swimming, fishing, sunbathing, boating, scuba diving, and many more. And it is a place where lovers and couples are spending their romantic moments. However, oceans and seas are not always our friends. Sometimes they become our enemy and our tormentors. This is during the time of storms, hurricanes, typhoons, and other bad weathers, and of course, including the tsunami. How many ships, fishing boats, and other seacrafts are sinking every day or every year during the bad weather or even during the good weather? How many lives have been lost and had perished at sea? Here, I want to share a very memorable moment in my seafaring career. This is when we rescued 10 fishermen from Bangladesh who survived when their fishing boat was struck by a freak wave and eventually sank. At the time, we were underway from Indonesia and was bound to Chittagong, Bangladesh. We were about 3 hours away from the port of Chittagong, and since we were arriving, I came in the bridge early. I was sitting on the captain's chair and was chatting with the chief officer, who was the officer of the watch. Later on, I saw so many floating objects dead ahead or right ahead from our vessel. Immediately, I advised the chief officer to alter the course or to avoid those floating objects. The chief officer altered the course, but he continuously looked and monitored the floating objects. When the floating objects came close to our vessel, the chief officer immediately advised me that he saw many people on the water. I did not immediately believe him, and even told him that how come there were people? We are very far away from the beach or coast. It is impossible that people will come in this place for swimming. And then I took a look on those floating objects on the water. Lo and behold, the chief officer was correct. Immediately, I sounded the ship's alarm and made an announcement for all my crew to stand by for rescue operation. Since the current was very strong, which was about 3 to 4 knots, and the sea condition was very rough. In addition, the swell was very high. I decided not to use the rescue boat, which will put my crew to be at risk. Instead, I utilized the engine and the bow thruster to approach safely the survivors or the fishermen on the water. And one by one, by using the rope and life buoy, we were able to recover the survivors. We were able to recover and save a total of 10 fishermen from Bangladesh. Once all the survivors were on board, we gave them food and drinks, blanket, and first aid. We treated the wounded survivors. Later on, I reported the matter to our company. When we arrived in Port of Chittagong and eventually dropped anchor, I made an interview to the fishermen. I found out that a big wave hit their wooden fishing boat and broke it apart, which caused it to sink. It was during night time. According to them, they were 13 of them who were on board their fishing boat. They got separated, and unfortunately, the 3 of their colleagues got lost. And they assumed that those 3 who were missing were all dead. And they were floating for 3 days. One of the survivors was having a big wound on his arm and on his back. Later on, the Bangladesh Coast Guard contacted us and requested us to hand over the survivor to them. Eventually, the 10 survivors disembarked from our vessel through a small boat, and they were transferred to the awaiting ship of the Bangladesh Coast Guard. For me and my crew, it was a wonderful feeling to have saved 10 lives, although we feel so sad about the 3 who perished. We do not consider ourselves as heroes. It was only a coincidence for us to see the Bangladeshi fisherman. But if ever it shall happen again, we will not hesitate to rescue and save our fellow people from any nationality. As a seafarer, it is our responsibility and bound to save lives at sea.